Good morning and Shabbat Shalom. I want to just say before I start how grateful I am to Rachel and Chuck. Through the magic of TV, I'm coming to you on Shabbat, although I recorded this yesterday. Yet I know that when this Devar Torah rolls, I'll be filled with the much needed warmth and joy that has filled me the past two Shabbatot as I've sat right here singing and davening along with the Na'aseh B'Nishma service. And Rachel, your passion is contagious, and it feels good to be seeking out a kind of holy contagion. I'm struggling to embrace the full weight and potential of this particular Shabbat. This is typically a Shabbat where I'm filled with meaningful excitement for Passover. This Shabbat is a special one, and it is called Shabbat HaGadol, literally the big Shabbat. And like so many things in Judaism, there are many different explanations as to why or how it got its name, and your guess is as good as mine or anyone else's as to what is the authentic explanation, or if there even is one. The rabbis said that the 10th of Nisan, so a few days before Passover was to begin, that the Israelites chose their lamb to sacrifice, and that the Egyptians allowed them to do so, which was a mini miracle in and itself, and that the 10th of Nisan on the original Exodus was a Shabbat. The rabbi said that this day is to be called Shabbat HaGadol, the big Shabbat. And we also today read a special Haftorah that speaks of the great day that the Messiah will come. Another reason that it is called Shabbat HaGadol is because traditionally rabbis would give two sermons a year, one on the Shabbat preceding Yom Kippur and the other today, which I think is a pretty good gig. But like so many aspects of our lives right now, I'm struggling with this Shabbat and the idea of Pesach in general. What words could I offer that will help us feel free? What can we do spiritually, mentally, and physically to prepare and ultimately embrace the meaning of this holiday that is usually so important to our lives and central to our identity as Jews? I, for one, do not find the hardship and anxiety that we are feeling as akin to slavery. And something feels off about the COVID plagues analogy, yet not far off enough for many of us to avoid making that comparison. I do feel like we have entered or were thrust into the waters of the Red Sea without any idea of when they will be parted for us, and when the waters will come crashing down on this time of struggle, of anxiety, and feeling sorry for ourselves. And of course, we're concerned about our survival and about emerging from this period with our community intact. But we know that many people will not get that chance, that this virus's seas will have not parted for them. But one thing I am thinking about this Shabbat is that very first Exodus, the first time Passover was celebrated, when the Israelites were first commanded to perform the rituals that ultimately inspired the Seder. At that time, they were still slaves. They needed to sacrifice their paschal lamb, paint their doorways with blood, and emotionally prepare for a radical transformation, to embrace something that, up until that point, had been nothing more than a distant idea. We are not enslaved, but we are confined to our homes and bound to a diminished way of living. Yet that diminishment is still far greater than what is happening to a growing number of people. What we have is still far more than what so many others have. We should utilize this Shabbat and allow it to make us better. Give it the power to signal our transformation of spirit. Seek gratitude when we have embraced griping. Search for meaning when we find ourselves on a downward path and a dead end of anger. And most of all, reach for empathy More than anything else, this period in unprecedented time should hammer home for us the need to be bigger, more empathic, doing what we can to create more wholesome connections in the world. The Israelites needed to go through the steps God laid out for them in order to bring about their freedom and ultimately our freedom. But these personal and familial actions happened in their homes. Yet they paved the way not only for freedom, but for the road to Sinai. Be grateful and caring. These are our preparations. These are our sacrifices in the face of hardship and pervasive fear. It was these very private and personal redemptions that compelled God to redeem the Israelites. And God willing, our hopeful and courageous actions will bring about a healing, redemptive moment for each of us, the people and the community we hold so dear. Traditionally, this Shabbat and this sermon, we're here to signal the religious or perhaps the logistical preparations that should be happening in our homes. This may or may not be the year for that. But it most certainly should be the year where we dig deeper within ourselves to be better than we have been, not simply for ourselves. And that is what will make this Shabbat worthy of being called Shabbat HaGadol, something that represents something bigger. Let's reach for that. Shabbat Shalom, and I look forward to studying Torah with all of you. Thank you for making this Shabbat and the past two Shabbats really special.